This is a video called Making Egyptian Drill Holes Lost Ancient High Technology. They're using copper and ancient abrasive to drill into granite. They make cores which are tapered and they have all the striations on there. I'll link the video bit. If you're actually genuinely interested in ancient technologies, as a channel you really need to watch and subscribe to. If you watch the full video, you see how initially the noob had quite some problem working the drill, and then the more skill you get, the better you get. You can keep it straighter, you can keep it spinning much faster. This type of drill is in the archaeological record. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But the big breakthrough that they didn't discover this. This has been known way back since the time of Petrie, this type of drill. It was the usage of it, how to actually use it. Experimental archaeology, like Petrie and these other people, really didn't do experimental archaeology. They're not they're not gods, you know what I mean, in that terms. But so there's a tendency to, oh well, it's always the great Matthew Flinders Petrie. Well, Matthew Flinders Petrie is very conventional in that sense, but when he spoke about diamond cores, he got it wrong. Let's just be, he got it wrong. He didn't, he was not a material scientist or a tradesman. Let's put it that way. I base my drill off fares, off-center handle, just a tree branch, a weight, and then the shaft. Here are some images of making stone vases where we even see in the workshop. So it wasn't just one person making them, they had workshops to do this. We see this in, again, there's a lot of depictions of this. They're using, they're making vases in there. And again, this is in the record. I'm going to go into more in this in the future, but gardener's sign list. So it's Egyptology, ancient, like this is, it's like, as well as with Budge, this is like 101 stuff. It has a section, agriculture, crafts and professions. These tools are in the listed all the way back to Old Kingdom and pre-dynastic period. For instance, this is from the Mastaba at Saqqara. They were using this drill. Now the drill head, it's just a weight at the top, curved handle. Notice the drill head there, that's actually perfect for hollowing out vases. Scientists against Smith Channel, they're making vases, a diorite vase is on the way, and she's doing it all on her own, and we'll cover that as well. But that drill head, perfect for drilling out. That's the type of drill that I used for all my cores. I get tapered, I get the spiral. It's not a spiral on core 7, let's just get that straight. But anyway, I've replicated it, previous videos before, no fear of contradiction. Very cheap experiment. I just went out and got the granite, got the copper. I'm using modern copper, not ancient Egyptian copper, which is rich in arsenic. And Old Kingdom, early dynastic period, they were using arsenical copper. Arsenical bronze, which is comparable to iron. Alright, so let's have a look at the speed test in this drill. Now, you might notice I've still got the wooden guide on there. That was actually a silly mistake. I should have taken it later when the guide was away, because it's basically going to act as a brake on there. But I've also painted the flywheel with that green strip, so we can use that as a rev counter. When it's running at full speed, it's too fast to see, but I'll slow it down so that we get an idea of what the revs per second, and then we can work out revs per minute. We'll be looking at what I can sustain, not what my top speed, but what I can sustain over time. And I've gotten pretty good at using it, but I certainly haven't reached expert levels at this point. So now if we slow it down, you can see the green stripe gives us the rev count, and I've slowed it down, so we're going to see 1 whole second. So I've achieved just over 5 revs per second. That gives us a revolutions per minute of 300 plus, actually a little bit over 300. In other portions I get 5.5 revs or 330 revolutions per minute, but I can sustain, and that's the important part, I can sustain 300 RPM. When I really get in the zone I could get up to 360 or even 420, but that's not what I can keep going over a long time. However, a younger, healthier, more coordinated individual who's also got some more training and has worked out all the little tricks, that, the right angle of the handle, the right weight, exactly the right length, and all those things, they certainly will be achieving a lot more than what I can, and that's 300 revs per minute. With this primitive technology, I can achieve sustained 300 RPM, and again that will be improved by someone more experienced, younger, healthier, more coordinated. Compare that to a modern power drill. They have different speed settings. Top speed 2000 RPM down to about 200. Top speed is not always the best speed to be using, but this is it's not bad at all. So not too bad compared to a modern drill of 2000 RPM. Well, actually, this drill is better than a 2000 RPM drill. What do the experts on core drilling say? One of the common mistakes, if you want optimal results for core drilling, it is too hot. You're using the wrong RPM. It'll damage the core, it'll damage the drill in itself. So the RPM is very important. Now, what RPM? What's the rotations per minute that they recommend? A 35mm core drill cutting granite should be rotated at approximately 350 RPM, while larger diameters should be even slower RPM. Think of those giant tunnel boring machines. They don't spin at 2000 RPM, they don't spin at 900 RPM, they spin slowly. The drill used here and the RPM, now I'm getting quite good at using it, is the optimal speed for cutting granite. So this is better than a modern 2000 RPM drill bit. Turns out that the ancient tool, just like with fire setting to break granite, that the ancient techniques are far superior to modern tools. And in the comments I get, well, I drilled granite, it took me for so long, and the guy actually said that he used 2000 RPM. Well, that's an operator error, not a tool error. So either too slow, very slow, or too fast, it's bad. You shouldn't, if you want an optimal drill and best speed, what you need to get is an ancient Egyptian flywheel drill. Get some experience on it, and you'll be doing the optimal drilling at the best speeds, leaving the best results, and that's why we have all these examples from there. Not high speed, just not. We'll be looking at what I can sustain, not what my top speed, but what I can sustain over time. And I've gotten pretty good at using it, but I certainly haven't reached expert levels at this point. So now if we slow it down, you can see the green stripe gives us the rev count, and I've slowed it down, so we're going to see 1 whole second. So I've achieved just over 5 revs per second. That gives us a revolutions per minute of 300 plus, actually a little bit over 300. In other portions I get 5.5 revs or 330 revolutions per minute, but I can sustain, and that's the important part, I can sustain 300 RPM. When I really get in the zone I could get up to 360 or even 420, but that's not what I can keep going over a long time. However, a younger, healthier, more coordinated individual who's also got some more training and has worked out all the little tricks, that, you know, the right angle of the handle, the right weight, exactly the right length, and all those things, they could, well, certainly will be achieving a lot more than what I can, and that's 300 revs per minute. With this primitive technology, I can achieve sustained 300 RPM, and again, that will be improved by someone more experienced, younger, healthier, more coordinated. Compare that to a modern power drill. They have different speed settings. Top speed 2000 RPM down to about 200. Top speed is not always the best speed. here are some of the cores that I drilled, and interesting enough, the larger ones, 1.5 inch or 35 millimeters in there. So no wonder I and all the others who actually do the experiments with this primitive technology get such good results in regards to striations and tapering in comparison to Core 7, because even the experts in core drilling, people actually deal in stone core drilling, I might add, not a machinist, but actual people in the trade who know their stuff, recommend 35 millimeter diameter core cut in granite should be rotated at approximately 350 RPM. Egyptian technology, the best.